If you consider yourself a beginner photographer and you want to improve your skills, you've come to the right place. Hey everybody, my name's Austin James Jackson. I'm a professional landscape photographer based here in Southern Utah, and I am really excited you're here. Obviously, if you're here, you're wanting to improve your landscape photography, and I've got a few tips I think that will really help you guys out. They might be a little bit different than some of the beginner tips that you've heard before. I hope that they are, and I hope that they will be really helpful for you. If you do want to improve your photography, make sure to subscribe because I'm posting weekly videos where my goal is to help you become a better photographer. Now, I'm a full-time landscape photographer, and it was a journey to get here. It was a huge learning process. There was a lot that I learned. In this video, I want to give you guys 5 of the best tips that I wish I could have given myself when I had first started photography, because they would have helped excel my photography skills by many years really quickly. So let's go ahead and jump into the 5 best tips for beginner landscape photographers. Tip number 1 is that good light is king in landscape photography. You simply cannot just go outside and think that just because you're in a beautiful place that you're going to capture beautiful photos. Now, you can definitely capture snapshots obviously at any time of the day with your camera, but if you want to become a landscape photographer and you want to capture those portfolio worthy shots, you're going to need to be in the right place at the right time. Now, a lot of times it's hard to tell you what the right time is going to be and what the right place is going to be, and that is a lot of the fun of landscape photography, is trying to get those great conditions in the spots you go to. Now, generally speaking, shooting at sunset or at sunrise is going to be the best time to capture great photos. This is because this is when the best light of the day is generally hitting. The reason why it's the best light is because the sun is low in the sky. It's really indirect, and it oftentimes creates some really nice glow. It creates nice colored clouds and a more evenly lit scene than during the middle of the day. In the middle of the day, when the sun is straight up in the sky, if there's no clouds, everything has really harsh light. It's in total sun or total shade, and it's really hard to take good photos in the middle of the day. Now, there is some workarounds for this to capture photos in the middle of the day that are good, but generally speaking, if you want to shoot with your wide-angle lens and you want to capture the big grand scene, you're going to need to be shooting around sunset or sunrise, or a few hours after, or a few hours before, depending on if it's sunset or sunrise. Now, the exception to this leads into tip number 2 really well, which is that if you pick up a telephoto lens, you can capture some really great shots. Now, I highly recommend all beginner photographers start using a telephoto lens. A lot of beginner photographers, they get their camera, they get their wide angle lens, and they call it a day because they want to capture those beautiful, big, grand scenes that they're used to seeing on Instagram or whatever it may be. Now, this telephoto lens is going to really help you to get some really great and creative shots. Having a telephoto lens is going to allow me to capture photos in less than ideal light. Now, here is the reason why. If I'm just shooting with my wide angle lens, I need great light over the whole scene to capture a really nice photo. For example, if I wanted to capture a wide angle scene of a mountain, but the sky was blue and there was a bright sunny day, it wouldn't look very good. Now, if I put on my telephoto lens, even though in the grand scheme of things, the light's not very good, I will be able to focus this in on a particular part of my scene. Telephoto lens allows you to zoom in. I like using my 70 to 300. It works great. I can zoom all the way into 300. So for example, I could take a close-up of that mountain, which there's not good light around it, but maybe there's a little bit of sunlight hitting the mountain and I can capture a photo like that. There's virtually unlimited possibilities here to do with a telephoto lens. It's one thing that you don't see a lot of beginner photographers using. They're mostly sticking to those wide angle lenses. So my tip number 2 for you beginner photographers is to get a telephoto lens and really use it. As a professional photographer now, I would say probably at least 3/4 of my shots are shot with my 70 to 300, and I would say probably less than 20% of my photos are shot at wider than 20 millimeters. Now, it's definitely great to have that wide angle, of course, because when that light does go off and you have the beautiful scene in front of you, you definitely want the wide angle, but honestly, it's really hard to predict that great light and be in the right place at the right time. So the telephoto lens will bail you out and still let you get some really great shots. Now, tip number 3 is something that maybe if you've been around the photography community for a while, you've seen it, but there is a big thing amongst especially professional photographers urging people to avoid shooting those popular compositions and that you need to be finding unique and original compositions. Now, I honestly could not disagree with this anymore. In my own work, I really like to find unique and original compositions in the backcountry and in the front country. But if you are a new and beginner photographer, there's absolutely no reason why you should spend your time trying to find crazy good compositions that have never been seen before, because honestly, you need to refine and hone your skills. Go to that waterfall that's local to your town that everyone has photos of, or take pictures of the mountain that everyone has photos of, or just bring your camera with you and shoot the common scenes that everyone else is shooting. There's so many great compositions out there, and if everyone else is shooting it, it's usually because it's a pretty good shot. So I highly recommend shooting some stuff that you've seen before and not totally relying on yourself to find totally original compositions every time you go out. If you want to get better, you're going to have to start somewhere, and I just recommend taking as many pictures as you can. Go to all the common locations, get your photos there. It's going to help you guys to get better a lot faster than spending your time worrying about finding original compositions and stumbling through and finding so many things that don't work until you finally find one thing that does. Shoot those compositions that other photographers are shooting. Seriously, I give you guys permission and I highly recommend it. Tip number 4 is a big one here, and it's one that I really wish I could have told myself about 10 years ago, and that is in photo editing that less is more. Now, when you're editing your photos, you don't need to over edit them to make them something they're not. In fact, don't make your photos something that they are not. This is, especially when you're a beginner, going to lead to you running into stuff that doesn't look realistic and stuff that looks really, really bad. Nothing looks worse as a landscape photographer than when you can tell that someone totally faked the sky or they totally faked something in their image. As a professional, a lot of times if you know what you're doing, you can get away with it. But as a new photographer, trust me, you do not have the skills quite yet in order to do that. And honestly, in landscape photography in general, I think it's just better to not fake things in your photos. Make things realistic, make things look how they actually looked. And the best way to do that is by editing. Less is more. You don't need to apply crazy large edits. Just small, simple edits will help you to keep a really realistic look and feel to your photos. Focus on nailing that white balance. That's the most important thing for realistic photos, but you don't need to over edit your photos. This is the biggest thing that I see beginner photographers doing, is that they're over editing their photos, making them look not very good. Now, tip number 5 piggybacks off of this very well, and that is to find a photographer whose editing style you like and who takes photos that you like, and consider purchasing a course or attending a workshop from that photographer. Whether this is me or someone else, I don't care. This is just a recommendation for you, is that you can learn from someone that has already been through all the trials and tribulations, and someone that has already created some content that you can watch so that you can learn how to edit just like they are. I'm not saying that you want your photos to look exactly like theirs, but this is where you can start to acquire some more advanced skills that you can learn from someone else. They've obviously been through a lot, they've learned a lot, and they've really refined their craft. So you can learn from them and take from them what you want to add to your own tool belt, and then ultimately customize your own tool belt to be exactly what you want it to be to create edits that you want. This may seem obvious, but there's a lot of photographers that just aren't sure if they should buy tutorials, if they should come to a workshop. I really can't recommend it enough, because this is the best way for you to learn really, really quickly. If you have the extra money and the extra time, a workshop is going to be the quickest way that you can learn to become a better photographer in an instant. You're going to be out there shooting amongst others just like you with a professional photographer that's going to teach you, or hopefully teach you, how to become better and really refine your craft. They're going to show you how they do things so that you can learn. If you don't have as much money or time, consider getting a premium tutorial. There's a lot of really good editing tutorials out there, a lot of great landscape photographers that are creating good editing tutorials, and you can learn exactly how your favorite photographers are editing their photos. And of course, if you are a fan of my work, if you like what I'm doing, you can consider joining me for a workshop. I run workshops all over the Western United States. And you can also consider picking up a video tutorial where I will teach you exactly how to edit your photos. So I want to thank you guys so much for checking out this weekend's video. I really hope it was helpful for you guys in order to become a better photographer. Again, if you do want to become better, I do post weekly videos where my aim is to help you guys take better photos. So please make sure you subscribe. And of course, like this video, leave a comment. I always love hearing from you guys and hearing how you like the videos, hearing your feedback, as well as if you've got any great tips for beginners, I'd love to hear them as well. Thank you guys so much for checking out this weekend's video. We will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.